Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Dawson County Board of Commissioners voting session. Today's Thursday, July the 15th, 2021. Appreciate those of you that are with us in person as well as those that are with us online. First thing we need to do is have a motion to come out of executive session. Motion by Commissioner Satterfield, seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And we're out of executive session 4-0. Next up is roll call. And as you can see, we're all here. I would ask you all to please stand for a brief invocation and pledge. You would bow your heads, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another day and for the many blessings of life. We ask that you give us knowledge and wisdom to carry out the business of this community. Lord, anything that's accomplished, we give you the honor and glory in Christ's name. We do ask and pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Next up is announcements. We'll make one announcement. Our next BOC meeting is scheduled for August the 5th, 2021. Are there any other announcements? All right, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. First up, we have the minutes of the work session held on July 1, 2021. Are there any additions or deletions? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett, seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have the minutes of the voting session held on July 1st, 2021. Are there any additions or deletions? Motions. Motion by Commissioner Satterfield, seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda. I don't have any changes to the agenda. Is there a motion? Motion by Commissioner Dooley, seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And the agenda is approved 4-0 as presented. No one signed up for public comment in this particular section. We'll move on to zonings. Before we get into that, I'm going to explain the rules of our zoning process. Our planning director will present the application and recommendation of the planning commission. We'll hear from the applicant. Then I'll open the hearing. We'll hear from those who are in favor of the application. Then we'll hear from those who are opposed to the application. Each person wishing to speak will be allotted 3 minutes per our zoning guidelines. Anyone who speaks will need to sign in and give us your name and address. And also, if anyone has donated $250 or more to any candidate, you will need to fill out a form stating so. So those are the rules that we will go by in reference to the zonings. First up, we have SU 21-02, Robert Gardner requests a special use of tax map parcel 078-001-002 for the purpose of placing a mobile home on less than 5 acres in a RA residential agricultural zone. Jameson.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Gardner purchased this piece of property in April of 2021, and he'd like to place a manufactured home on this piece of property. Due to basically to the cost of building, prices are pretty much skyrocketing at this point. So I will note that the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this application. They asked that it be on a permanent foundation and skirted with concrete or brick, that the power meter be placed on the structure instead of something separately over onto a power pole, that the square footage be at least 1,200 square feet in size, and that the mobile or the manufactured home have variable facades, including offsets and window trimmed and shutters. I'll entertain any questions at this time.
Questions for Jameson? Thanks, sir. You may have some later. Is the applicant present? Come up, sir, and tell us what you would like to do.
Yes, I'd like to put a brand new, double wide trailer on the piece of property on Dollar Road. I'm getting a little older. I've owned 3 houses in my lifetime. We got one off, right in behind the outlet mall now, and it's a lot of big subdivisions going in, and, I'd like to be able to move away from the corridor and get over here a little bit, where I grew up in the country, so. I would do whatever planning and zoning recommended me to do as far as the underpinning, permanent foundation. And I'm gonna have to do a well and septic and work with the county on that too, so. I'd appreciate anything you can do for me.
So you're saying you're good with the stipulations?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Questions of the applicant?
2.64.
Did you hear anything from letters sent to surrounding property owners? Okay, so he wouldn't have heard, you would have.
Yeah.
So nobody. No worries. When you bought this property, were you aware how it was zoned and what that meant?
No, I did not.
Did not understand. You didn't check.
That's about it. Yeah. I'm new at all this. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
At the time that you purchased this, were you wanting to build a house?
Yeah, I would like to build a house, but, cost of lumber and materials and all that's going up so high that me with my age and all that, I just, I think I'm gonna open up a can of worms that I'm not gonna be able to do anything about.
Has the cost of the mobile homes not gone up? I have no idea. The
I
cost.
went
Is-
by and talked to Bob's up here in Dahlonega, and we've looked at one, and he's guaranteeing us a price of, I'd have to do the grading and, the well and the septic, but he said that he would put the mobile home there, and then I would have to do a permanent foundation, have somebody come out and do a permanent foundation myself. So I'd still be coming out a little bit better once I sell my house.
So you
Considerable,
presently live
considerable.
in a house?
Yes, ma'am.
You
I
do.
live in Dawson County off of
You said her drive. I don't know where that is.
her drive off Harry Sosby.
Okay.
If y'all know the area right
Oh,
there.
yeah,
Yeah, it's booming right there.
yeah, it is.
So I just want to get out a little further and, get away from all that traffic up there.
Mhm, mhm.
Other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. We may have some later. I do have a question for you, Jameson. Future land use map has this as RSR.
It does, yes, sir.
Are there any other mobile homes in the area?
Not in the direct vicinity. It's a fairly, Dollar Road, it's a fairly rural part of the county, so their houses are fairly spread out.
There's some nice houses up through there.
It's right on the Lumpkin County line, right?
It's very close, yes. I believe Dollar Road dead ends into Little Mountain, which I think, a couple 100 feet down with Little Mountain is the Lumpkin County line.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions for Jameson? Thank you, sir. All right, this time I'll open up this hearing. Is anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion that we approve the special use.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley for approval of the special use. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion.
Biggest concern is that it doesn't match what's around the existing other houses that are there. We've had this come up before, and I think it matched some of the other existing surrounding property owners is my concern.
I'm
Other discussion.
concerned about setting a precedent. And I mean, I understand where he's coming from, and I've always tried to encourage people when you buy property to make sure it's zoned for what you want to do with it. And this is kind of like, well, no, I won't say that. I was gonna say asking forgiveness instead of permission, but that's not what you're doing, but I just have concerns about precedent. Well, you can
Wait.
ask him.
Yes, I mean, do you have a question for him?
No,
Okay, no.
I had finished and he had his hand. up.
Okay, that's fine. We'll get back to you in a minute. All right, any other discussion on the board?
I just think it's kind of out on the outskirts anyway. And It looks like it's gonna be a pretty decent product for a mobile home, and I guess that's where the precedent doesn't really bother me now, because the mobile homes have come a long way since a lot of our ordinances wrote about the sizes of the lots and stuff. So, I mean, I don't really, I can see where that could be a concern, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it, because it's zoned, even if he was gonna put a house on it, it's zoned RA now, correct?
All right, now,
So he couldn't even put a house on it right now,
future land use map has it as RSO.
right? So it'd have to be rezoned to even put a house on it at the moment, so.
Other discussion?
Can I ask him another question?
You can.
How close are you to the Lumpkin County line? Yeah, the 2.64 acres.
On the backside of it. Road. And on the right side of Dollar Road. I was actually on Dollar Road. They're not gonna be able to see my home from Dollar Road. I'm gonna get, I want to have woods in front of it, just driveway.
But the mountain road you were talking about, is that in Lumpkin County?
Yes, sir.
It is in Lumpkin County.
You cross down the road.
Is that right?
And who owns the property beside? There's not a house that doesn't look like right beside it. Right. Is it a new, did we say it's a new unit?
Yes, he said.
You,
James.
It is new. You are buying a new mobile home.
Sir.
The lots beside it are basically the same size.
Yes, these lots were split out.
look like a family split, because I
quite a
think
long
look
time
like
Yeah, so they're all
two
about the same
different
size
people with the same
lots.
last name own the two lots.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Other discussion?
How far back from the road are you gonna make it? You said you want it to be far away from the road, but how far back?
I would say good 100 to 150 foot off.
So about the length of this room. It's about 100 feet, 100 yards.
300 feet.
That's a big difference. That's a football field.
I'll just interject one thing. I'm not sure if I caught in Commissioner Dooley's motion whether he was applying any conditions.
That was what I was just thinking about. I would like to include the planning and zoning
Stipulation.
stipulations in that. If I need to withdraw
Under
it. and-
stipulations.
I would like to hear them again.
So the stipulations that the planning commission recommended were that the manufactured home be on a permanent foundation and have and it be skirted with concrete block or brick, that the power meter be placed on the structure and not separately on a power pole, that the square footage be at least 1,200 square feet in size, and that it have variable facades, including offsets and window trimmings with shutters.
Yeah, I don't know. Do I need to withdraw that motion?
You can amend it
Can I
and add
amend it?
those.
I'd like to add that and
Yes,
Set of 15.
you could amend it. You can make an amendment
Yeah.
to add that.
I just make an amendment to add that and that it be set 300 foot from the road. Or from the right of way.
We have a second.
Second amendment.
So amendment was made by Commissioner Dewey, seconded by Mr. Satterfield. Any other discussion on the amendment before we vote on the amendment to the motion?
This- Just a question in general. We've seen these before. I think we've had requests for these before. Is that correct?
Yes, a number of times.
And historically, we've approved them.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Any other discussion? We're going to be voting on the amendment first. Please vote on the amendment. The amendment to the motion.
Okay, is that the one with the stipulations?
The amendment is the stipulations that were read out
And added the 300 foot.
and added 300-foot setback.
And so if I had the desire to add another stipulation, we would vote on this and then have further discussion before we do that one.
No. Because that would change, that would create, you'd have to do another amendment.
Yeah, I think what I would say is maybe discuss what your
Yeah,
new
my
condition would be.
would be to document how far back he wants to set it.
Well, I
Off the
think
road.
Commissioner
I'll go
Dooley,
I
with
said
He said that.
300
He
foot.
said 300
You
foot.
said 300.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry, I missed that. I was reading these other ones.
He put that in there.
Okay, I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he added that already to his amendment.
okay,
All right, so please vote. And the amendment is approved 4-0, so we'll move on to the amended motion, which is, the motion was approval of the special use permit with now with the amendment, which includes all the stipulations. Any other discussion before we vote? Hearing none, please vote. And it is approved with those stipulations, 4-0.
I see relief.
All right, next up, we have VR 21-12. Sal Racinion, hope I got that somewhere close, on behalf of Crave Barbecue. Request to vary from the Dawson County Alcohol Ordinance, Chapter 6, Article 2, Section 3.31. Poured alcohol beverages shall be transported from point of dispensing to the customer by permitted employees only for the purpose of operating a self-serving beer wall. James.
Thank you, Chairman. So Mr. Rencion has requested to vary from Dawson County alcohol ordinance that would allow poured alcohol beverages to be transported from the point of dispensing to the customer by a permitted employee only for the purposes of operating a self-serving beer wall. Crave Barbecue opened in 2018, and at that time, the county required him to construct a wall that only employees would have access from the alcohol to the dispense. So then now, as of right now, they have an employee standing in front of this beer wall, dispense the alcohol and turn around and give it to the patrons. With the new alcohol ordinance update, which we allow for variance requests, Mr. Rencion the applicant, he's looking to vary from this specific regulation. He's not looking to vary from the intent of the regulation. The intent of the regulation is so that there's someone there actually visually monitoring how much intake of alcohol the patrons have. I believe that he can present his case to show that he is not looking to, he's just looking to vary from the strict interpretation of our alcohol ordinance, which is the purpose that one of the reasons why we have the variance process now in our alcohol regulations. I will entertain any questions at this time.
Questions for Jameson? Okay, thank you, Jameson. Applicant present, come on up, tell us what you'd like to do.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. What I'd like to do is,
Please give the board your name.
I'm sorry, my name is Salvatore Vincione. I'm the founder of Crave
Okay.
Hot Dogs and Barbecue. Thank you for your time. So I want to give a little history so you understand how the wall works, if that's okay.
Mhm.
So.
Please do, because I
All
don't
right,
understand.
okay. So my wife and I founded this company back in 2018 from nothing. Okay, we became the top 10 franchise in the United States. We're in 18 states right now, obviously Georgia being one of them. We also have a food truck program. So we have a food truck in Atlanta also. So the state of Georgia is quickly becoming a good state for us for the brand. The very first store we ever built was Dawsonville. It was our test model. In the state of Georgia, self-serve beer is legal. It's legal, but in Dawson County, it was not legal. Okay. So in order to get the beer wall, the liquor license approved, we had to construct what's called a pony wall in front of the beer wall so that the customer cannot go past that pony wall. And I think the confusion is that no one understands how the wall works. So if I may, when you come into Crave, you need two things. You need a credit card and a driver's license, okay? In order to use the beer wall. We have the same exact technology that the TSA has in airports. So we're gonna scan your driver's license. We're gonna verify that it is you. We're gonna put you into our system, okay? Then we're going to scan your credit card and open a tab, just like any tavern would do. We're not charging anything on the credit card. We're just opening the tab. Then we're going to activate an RFID wristband, okay? That RFID wristband is activated with the equivalent of 2 pints of beer that you're able to pour, okay? When you go up to the beer wall, okay, we have a position called the tapologist. That is our beer expert, and that's the person that watches the dining area and watches the wall. In order to pour beer out of it, you have to activate the tap handle. So let's say an underage person comes in, they go up to that beer wall, they pull down that handle, nothing comes out. It has to be activated, okay? Once you activate that tap handle.
The wristband does that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The wristband activates the tap handle. Once it activates it, your information comes up. It'll say, "Hi, Sal, welcome to Crave. You have available 32 ounces to pour." Once let's say I want to have a taste of a beer. I pulled out the tap handle, the ounces start declining. So let's say I poured 2 ounces, I have 30 ounces left to pour. You only pay for what you pour, right? So if I only poured 3 ounces or 4 ounces, that's all I'm paying for. Once you've exhausted 2 pints of beer, the beer will automatically cut you off. You cannot pour any more beer. You're done. In every state, this is exactly how it is in every state with our brand. The importance of this beer wall is a couple of things. Number one, it's the attraction, right? We're an experiential restaurant. We want to give the right experience to our guests. We actually, as a company, pay lobbyists to go to other states to change the laws. In the state of Texas, we changed the law in the state of Texas to self-serve beer that we paid for to do. We were the very first self-serve restaurant in that state. Same thing in Yukon, Oklahoma. That just hit national PR 2 weeks ago. We opened that store right after we opened Dawsonville. So we had the same issue, and that's it. They made us put a pony wall up. And what happens, what it really does, it really hurts the sales. Because remember, these franchisees, these are small business owners. The owners that are at the location in Dawsonville, over at Dawson Crossings, they're in their middle 60s. It's a mom, it's a husband and wife that operate it. They're there every day. And I ask them, why are you there all the time? Keeps them young. They love working, they love working the restaurant. But what I have noticed, their sales, our typical sales with the beer wall attraction, right? They're 30% higher in every other store except for Dawson. That's how much revenue that it generates for our franchisees. Now, COVID hit, all these stores closed down. Crave never closed down. They never closed in Dawsonville. So we worked so hard to keep this restaurant open, even when my wife and I financially helping our franchisees to keep the store open because they're good people. All I'm asking for is to please allow us to utilize the wall for what it was intended for. We have all of the safety measures in place. I believe I forwarded you my tapologist manual and a brochure about the brand. We've put a lot of thought, time, and effort in this system. I can assure you, we are very keen to the safety of our guests that dine in our locations and the safety of everyone. And again, it is safer to go into a Crave to get a beer than any tavern. Because if you're tipping that bartender, 5s and 10s, they're going to keep filling up that beer or liquor, whatever you're drinking. Doesn't happen like that in Crave. You have 2 pints of beer and you're done in every state. We are not a place to get drunk. We are a family-friendly restaurant. That's what we are, with an experience that we're trying to give to our guests. So I do thank you for your time for listening to me.
Questions of the applicant?
2 pints per person is the max. They can't go back and recharge. the
No,
car.
sir, they cannot. It's 2 pints. That's it. And I will tell you, our average customer nationwide drinks 13 ounces of beer. Our average nationwide is only 13 ounces per whoever's going to that beer wall.
As you said, they're charged for just that 13 ounces.
Yes, sir. You only pay for what you're for. Yes, sir.
And then Jameson, this is a question, the person selling the card,
Yes, sir.
do they have to be have a pouring license to sell the card?
So, no, so I can answer that. I am very well versed on all the ordinances. I'm very prepared.
Good, good.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, they do not, because when you're activating the card, right, anyone can activate that card, because you're not technically selling liquor to anybody. You're just not. You're activating the card and verifying that they are of age to drink. All right. Our tapologist is our beer expert, and typically it's the franchisee, to be quite honest, that watches the beer wall and watches the floor. Those are the ones that are licensed, and they're watching the beer wall and the floor itself.
So part of Serve Safe, I think, is the terminology for that license, the pouring license. Is that right? Serve Safe? Are y'all Serve Safe?
We are serve safe. Yes, sir.
And you will continue that.
Yes, sir. We are
Okay.
tips trained. Our training is very extensive. We are a national franchise.
Yeah.
We are we have to be abreast with all the laws in every county that we go in. Unfortunately, Dawson County took me for a loop. I thought it was legal here when we built our first store, so, and I'm just gracious to be able to fly out here and be in front of you today, pleading my case.
I'll tell you what, if you can actually require people to give you a driver's license, verify who they are, I think you should be running our voting.
Yeah, me too.
I second that. Yes.
Other questions of the applicant?
Now in that store, and I guess you sent us a picture, but you said something about ponies?
Yeah, so it's called a pony wall. It's all it is. We had to construct a half wall in front of the beer wall, right? So that the customer can't go past that wall. So I'm asking, we can keep the pony wall up. Doesn't matter to me because it actually looks nice. I just want to be able to give that experience of a customer being able to go behind that pony wall and have a conversation with our tapologist, talk about the beers. It's an experience that we're trying to give our customers. We're not really able to do that the way it's set up right now. And all I'm asking for is the variance to please let us allow them to experience the wall for what it was intended for. These walls cost anywhere from $60,000 to $90,000 to build. They're not cheap. And they're very extensive. I mean, it's TSA equipment that's in there on every tap handle. So it's very well regulated.
Is this a foolproof system? People seem to be able to find a way
Cannot.
around everything.
Ma'am, we're in 18 states. I have 35 units. We've had 0 incidences in any state.
Okay.
And we were able to get the laws changed in Oklahoma and Texas with this. I've been before the county. We've been before the board and pleading my case because it's just safe. When I created this brand, we want to do something different, my wife and I, and it just clicked. How can we do something like a self-serve beer? How cool would that be? And we've partnered with a company that created the technology, which the TSA uses. And it's honestly a foolproof, it's just foolproof technology. You can't bypass it. It's impossible to bypass it. It just is.
Sometimes I wonder.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I understand. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
I'll say I did go by there today. I didn't go by there before, but I did go by there today to try to understand better the concept. And one of the points that your guy brought up is we have a labor shortage across all industries, no matter what you're in. And it seems like y'all are having to dedicate a single person just for that particular
sir.
station, and you can be more efficient with the way labor is. He thought that was a big point to bring up is
Yes, sir.
you potentially lose sales overall because of having that dedicated person there. But he showed me how the wristbands work. And ironically, I think right now the wristbands aren't required, but they get the card.
You
I
get a
think.
card as well. Get a
And so-
wristband or a card. It's either or.
Yeah,
either or.
and so the wristbands would identify somebody looking across the room that there's, there might be a minor sitting with an adult,
Mhm.
but the minor, if they got that wristband on, you could tell that they're not of age or whatnot. But it brought some comfort to me because I think I was the one that had concerns with it the last time of being abused. to your point.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you, sir.
I mean, people can abuse ice cream cone. I've never
Anybody
seen
can,
anything
you know,
like it.
Given anyone the chance, a lot of things can be
That's right.
abused.
They can. I mean, I mean, it's unbelievable what people come up with. What is a tapologist?
A tapologist, that's the name that we gave. That's our beer expert and they watch the beer wall and they watch the floor. It's really the franchisee that does it. They're
Mhm.
hanging out and just really giving the experience because it's really cool. When you go up to the beer wall, you can tap on the screen, teach you how to pour a beer, right? And it tells you about the beer, the alcohol content, what it, what it tastes like. It's a really cool experience that we would truly love to give our guests in this location.
How many different beers are on the wall?
18.
18.
Yes, sir.
Other questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir. We may have some in a minute.
Thank you, sir.
This time I'll open this hearing. Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'll close this hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Chairman, I make a motion to approve VR 21-12.
Motion approved by Commissioner Satterfield. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion.
I just think it's an example of the law catching up with technology. Really, I mean, it's what it kind of boils down to because it'll be safer for that computer to tell somebody. It's easier for the computer to not pour it than it is for a person to tell someone they can't have it. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Other
Keep
discussion.
that computer working.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm telling you, when it goes down, they're gonna be happy hour. It
They
does.
get nothing then.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm just liking this better all the time.
You need to sign up for that beerologist position.
I want to be a tapologist.
Tapologist, not beerologist.
I can't even smell anything and I'm going, I probably won't be in there. Not for the beer anyway. Well, now that's okay. But the other, I'm gonna leave it to somebody else.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And your variance is approved for it.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for coming
It's my pleasure.
and explaining. I just love it. It makes a difference. That does to me.
I will tell you that my franchisees are probably going to cry. when I first see the names.
I see you're a veteran too, so thank you for your service.
Thank you so much.
Oh, excellent.
All right. We'll move on to ZA 21-08. Jim King requests to rezone 30.48 acres of tax map parcel 114-033-005 from RA residential agriculture to RMF residential multifamily for the purpose of developing a 145 semi-attached residential neighborhood. James.
Chairman, if I may, I'd like to hear both of these at the same time. I don't know how that, but it's easier because both of these rezoning requests are
I'll have to ask council about that.
adjacent to each other. I'd like to at least be able to present them both at the same time. if
Yes,
that's- if
I think
appropriate.
that's fine because as it's been proposed, there's a list of conditions that apply to both interchangeably,
Mhm.
some of which apply to
Same.
one and not apply to the other. So I think hearing them together, conducting one public hearing would be fine.
We'll go ahead and read the other one. I'll let you read it. I read the last one.
Absolutely.
If you don't have it, I can.
That's all right. The other one is ZA 21-11. Jim King requests to rezone 23.11 acres of TMP 114-033-005, 114-018, 114-003 or 033-001, and 114-046-001 from RA residential agriculture to CC and CCB commercial community business to CHB commercial highway business for the purpose of building a retail office warehouse space. So Jim, if I can just get, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Thank you, Chairman. Jim King is requesting both of these rezonings to be heard concurrently since they really do hinge on each other. The project has access to 53, which is a major arterial road for Dawson County, and Dawson Forest, which serves as one of our major collector roads. The intersection of these two roads is slated for a traffic control improvement, which would actually help support the added traffic that this development would bring to that area. Per Public Works, the applicant will need to seek, will need GDOT's approval for these access points for this project. And Dawson County Sheriff's Office stated that they would require additional positions as the 400 corridor grows. The future land use map for this parcel is identified as commercial highway business within the comprehensive plan. Residential multifamily is a subsection of the commercial highway business character area. With that being said, these two requests, when taken as a whole, would be better suited for zoning of commercial plan comprehensive development as requested by planning and development. A CPCD zoning would allow more control of the development by the Board of Commissioners and would require a site-specific plan to be designed for the project. At this time, the applicant can discuss all the situations that he has agreed to. And the site plan, I believe, speaks for itself, and I'll let Jim King answer more detailed questions based on the application.
Questions of Jameson?
You said it did meet our comprehensive plan.
Both
Sure.
residential multifamily and commercial highway business does meet the comprehensive plan for this area. Yes, sir.
Other questions for Jameson? Think we may have some more later.
Sure.
Applicant present. Come on up, tell us what you'd like to do. Now that we're talking about both, explain both.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Jim King, 416 Overlook Circle, Dawsonville, Georgia. I'm here tonight representing both of the aforementioned cases, and like Jameson said, we appreciate the opportunity to at least present them together, because our intent is for them to work together like a mixed-use community. If you'll notice on the site plan, we actually came up with an arrangement for the commercial parcels to make them fit better. Instead of just having the buildings face Dawson Forest Road with the truck courts or the loading areas in the back, we actually put two buildings on each site. And we have one building facing the residential area to give a nice face, a nice streetscape. And then one building facing Dawson Forest with the loading areas in between them, where it's blocked from view from both sides. So we came up with a unique design for this to create more of a mixed use live, work, play community. The parcels, this piece of property is actually bordered on three sides by other apartment developments. You've got the Dawson Forest apartments, you've got the Farmington apartments, and then across the street, the new Pendler apartments. So it's surrounded by apartments. And then on the other side by Walmart, it backs up to the existing Walmart. So all of these apartment developments were developed at 6 units per acre. We are asking for 4 point something units, under 5 units per acre on this particular development. We've worked very diligently with staff on trying to create some conditions that both control the aesthetic appearance of the development, along with the interconnectivity with it, and also creating some things for the county in the way of pedestrian access, which will fall in line with the county's new pedestrian plan for the county, pedestrian trail plan for the county. One of the things we're doing is providing a multi-use trail, that connects Dawson Forest through this development over to Farmington. We were unable to get Farmington to allow us to continue it through their property because they're funded by HUD, and it apparently takes an act of Congress to get something changed on that. They were very receptive to it, and they can do it off the record, but we could not, they could
Walk
not
through the
commit to
parking
that.
lot.
Beg your pardon?
Walk through the parking lot.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, it goes back behind it and would go, and then, yes. So some of the conditions differed from planning staff's recommended conditions. I'll go through those, the ones that we took issue with, and we worked very hard to try to come up with things that were, I guess, to offset those and created advantage. One was maximum of 2 curb cuts along 53 in Dawson Forest. We actually have 3 on Dawson Forest. And I think planning staff was amenable to that. The contributions to the roundabout, we have worked with staff and come up with some to be able to, I believe, adhere to that. Minimum of a 20-foot planted buffer between the commercial and residential portions of the site. We asked for a 20-foot landscape strip, as you'll notice in one of the conditions. And the reason is because we don't want a solid buffer. We're trying to integrate the 2 uses. So we don't want a solid buffer. We're just asking for something that looks nice, creates a veil, if you would, between the 2. So, and like I said, the commercial buildings are actually facing the residential. So you're trying to create a nice streetscape there. The play areas and the amenities, what my client's trying to do here is create an adults only community. And I know that sounds, yeah. But no, I mean, actually it's really for workforce housing and older people that don't want a bunch of screaming kids running up and down the streets. So they felt like the amenities, and they feel very strongly that the pool and stuff is going to attract families there. And that's really not, they're really not looking for that for this particular development. I know it's a little unusual, but it's, and then the parking spaces, we're going to put up signs. That the staff's issue was afraid of people parking along the streets. What we're asking, typically in RMF, you have a single car garage. It's actually required. And so you have a single car garage and obviously then a single driveway behind it. So you could park 1 car in the garage, 1 in the driveway, and then many others for parking in the streets. We're actually proposing double car garages, which would have a double driveway behind it. So you could park 2 cars in the garage and 2 cars in the street, should the garage get filled with stuff like mine. But we also have a condition on there that provides for signage or requires signage along the street. That's no parking, and which would be easily. That's really, I mean, there's a number, there's 19 conditions that we've come up with cumulatively. So I believe y'all have those.
We have the most recent.
No.
I need to be ready.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Go ahead and read them.
I'll read
Number
them.
1.
I'll read those. The development shall be developed in general accordance with the site plan approved with this rezoning. The developer agrees to place restrictions on rentals within the residential portion of the development. These restrictions shall be made part of the declaration of covenants. Fully attached units / townhomes shall be prohibited within this development. The developer agrees to use a minimum of 6 different residential building elevations to avoid a cookie cutter look within the community. Similar front facades shall not be placed adjacent to or across the street from each other. Elevations shall be similar to those renderings or to the photos provided by and approved by the planning director prior to issuance of a building permit. In lieu of a buffer, a 20-foot landscape strip shall be planted between the commercial and residential uses. This landscape strip shall contain at least 1 3 to 4 inch caliper tree and 10 3-gallon evergreen shrubs for each 20 linear feet of landscape strip. The developer shall contribute towards the construction of the roundabout at the intersection of 53 and Dawson Forest Road. Developer shall have 4-foot sidewalks along one side of the street throughout the entire development and an 8-foot sidewalk along Dawson Forest across the entire frontage down to the creek crossing. Developer shall construct and maintain a mulch trail connecting the development, Dawson Forest Road, and the Farmington Apartments along the creek as shown on the approved site plan. Developer shall construct a left turn lane on Dawson Forest and align his entrance with the center entrance on the Pendler apartment development on the opposite side. Developer shall plant at least one 3 to 4 inch caliper canopy type tree, oak, maple, elm, similar, street trees in the front yard, in each front yard and the side yard on corner lots adjacent to the right of way. All grassed areas on developed lots shall be sodded. All utilities shall be underground. Development shall have covenants that require maintenance of the landscaped areas, open space, and amenity areas by a mandatory homeowners association. Home shall have a minimum front setback of 20 foot and or 24-foot minimum distance from the garage door to the sidewalk. Each home in the development shall have not less than a 2-car enclosed garage. Garage doors shall have the appearance of carriage style doors and be painted a medium to dark earth tone color. Home shall include full front facade on the first floor and a water table along each side of brick or stacked stone. The remaining facade must include a combination of at least 2 of the following: board and batten, shake, or lap fiber cement siding. There shall be no vinyl or aluminum siding. Home shall be a minimum of 2,000 square feet of heated space. All homes shall have a 2-car garage and a driveway of sufficient width to provide for at least 2 parked cars side by side with a minimum of 24 feet between the garage and sidewalk. The commercial development shall be submitted simultaneously with this application and shall be commenced and proceed simultaneously and continuously with the commencement of the development of the residential subdivision, and must be completed as a pad-ready site at or before the issuance of 50% of the certificates of occupancy for the residential development. For purposes of this stipulation, pad-ready shall mean completion of grading to a flat and immediate availability of water and sewer connections. Upon the issuance of 50% of the certificates of occupancy for a residential development, actual vertical construction of at least one of the commercial out parcels A through J must commence before any additional certificates of occupancy will be issued for the residential development. That's it.
Questions of the applicant?
So you're choosing not to do a amenities package, correct?
That's correct. I did talk to my client. I know that was a big concern of planning. And I did talk to my client, and they are willing to do like a shelter and picnic tables on like a community gathering area as an amenity.
Other questions of the applicant?
So since we're hearing both of these together, why didn't you do like a CPCD more? Is there something that would have, it just seemed like these are just kind of piecemealed together a little bit when we have that zoning classification. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of curious to why. Is it just the way it kind of developed, or?
It is. I don't remember off the top. We actually started this process in January, I think. It's,
Yeah.
and I think we brought in the residential first, and then we were told that, that we need the commercial and to come at the same time. So it's kind of been an evolution of processes. And I feel like is there a minimum acreage or something on CPC?
CPCC has a 100 home or 100 lot limit.
Okay, I think that's what it was.
Other
So-
questions of the applicant?
So but we're trying to do the same thing, just do it with 2 zoning cases. So
Right.
it's,
facades of this thing, you provided from samples and they do have some architectural differences with some brick and stone. However, it's not stipulated that I see on a certain percentage. Is there a percentage y'all are willing to do on the front of the facades of these? things?
Yes, the entire, the first floor. I think most of those have the whole first floor around the front door and the garage and everything, all that would be 100% brick or stacked stone. And then the second story then would be like lap siding, well, between the two, either lap, the shake siding, which looks like cedar shakes, or the reverse board and batten above it. And then along the side, there would be a water table down the side, along with two other materials. I think some of the renderings that I sent you didn't have the whole front shown as brick or stacked stone, but that's, the condition says they will be 100% brick or stacked stone. So I tried to cover that with the condition.
The whole front will be 100% stacked stone?
Hmm.
First floor.
First floor will be.
Yes,
But that's not a stipulation.
it should be.
But is there like a percentage?
Uh,
Is front,
Number
okay, so
16
it doesn't give us a
first
percentage, I
floor,
guess it's
yeah.
just a, okay,
Full front
All of them, all
facade
the
of
front
the
floors
first-
on every one of them would be 100% brick
yeah.
or stone.
I'm bored with that, so, okay. I was looking for a percentage.
What condition is that?
It's 16.
16.
15,
16,
16?
yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah, I said full front facade. You can change that to 100% or whatever if you feel more comfortable with that. Probably more, it's probably more direct.
What's the water table do? I mean, I don't know if I've seen any with the water table, what does that do?
Just where you do brick or stone and
Just kind of gives
Right,
a
to
break
like
from.
waist
the
high.
red ledge on it and scuff the side.
It just breaks it up a
Breaks
little
it up.
more. I mean, it's doesn't do a whole lot, honestly, but
Mhm.
it does help break it up. I think the key and at least the end thing now is using several different types of hardy to kind of break it up.
Yeah.
It gives it that craftsman feel. And to me, that does more than anything. The stone accents and things, which the water table kind of adds an accent, that helps just by introducing another material.
Yeah, I do like, and I try not to get bogged down in some of the little nuances, but the apartments that are across from you, they did a good job of making it look very craftsman style, and the earth tones that they used really kind of fit into the motif of Dawson County. So, yeah, we get bogged down in details like that. I think earth tones, because we had a development that used pastels, I think, in one of these things that
Oh my
really did not
goodness.
fit. So I don't know if that's warranted for a stipulation, but
We're actually looking for kind of a Key West theme here. And
Oh, no. You're not
Flamingos.
serious. are you?
I'm not serious.
Oh,
no.
man.
He's not.
no,
I
and
mean,
yeah,
that's
he might
beautiful
be
in
serious.
Key West.
Let's see what kind of flip flops. you got.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Key-
what,
that's okay.
no, we're looking for that craftsman, the craftsman style thing. That's what we're looking for or trying to create here.
Other questions of the applicant?
I guess I have a couple questions. I'm not sure if it's for Jameson or the applicant. One, I just want to call everybody's attention to, you've got a copy now of the conditions that Mr.
Mhm.
King's
Yes.
presented. And there's some staff recommendations for
Yes.
modifications. So if you'll please take note of those. And then my couple of questions are these, on condition 5,
Mhm.
it states in lieu of a buffer. And
Yes.
and it's probably maybe a question even for Jameson. Is that getting a variance? Is there a buffer requirement?
It was actually based on the staff
recommendation
of having a buffer in between. the
Okay,
commercial
so it's not a
So
variance
and- it's not a
embedded.
variance.
Okay, that was one question. Next question is as to condition number 6. Since this is unique in that this set of conditions is going to be applied to both
Mhm.
projects,
Mhm.
there's a condition that says contribute $125,000. So I'm assuming that means times 2.
That's correct.
Okay, so I think we'd want to clarify that
Okay.
since it's duplicated
Just
if we
put times
can,
2?
just to be clear. So that means $25,000 per rezoning application.
120.
What did I say?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be a good
Commercial-
result, wouldn't it?
There goes the money we had for the attorney services.
Yeah, yeah. I just got fired for that one. Yeah, $125,000 per
Each.
rezoning application.
$250,000 total.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then condition number 13, there's a reference to covenants requiring maintenance of a landscape entrance area, open space and amenity areas by a mandatory homeowners association. I don't think there's any reference to the entrance for the commercial area. Is there any landscape? And I may be missing it because I'm reading this quickly on the fly, but
I mean, there will be, let's see, let me read that one.
Our landscaping for our commercial areas are set more strictly in our.
In the code?
Yeah.
Okay.
There
Okay.
will be a property owners association for the commercial, so I think that condition will be okay.
but you feel comfortable
We have
with your
zoning
entrance
requirements
areas?
for that too.
Okay, then the only other thing that I might suggest, and you saw this in the email that came out today from someone in my office, is if we're going to, this is unique in my estimation to be combining two projects like this and having the same set of conditions. So my preference would have been that the residential conditions were stated in the residential applications and the commercial requirements, because we have obviously residential requirements. They're going to be imposed on the zoning property that don't relate to the commercial development, vice versa. So I would propose just a general statement that tries to make that clear, just so there's no confusion later that we're trying to impose a commercial requirement on the residential piece or vice versa. So something along the lines of this property that is the subject of this application has been proposed to be developed as a common project with development of property that is the subject of application. And it would say, whichever one, ZA 2108, when you're considering ZA 2111 and vice versa. As a result, stipulations attached to this property listed below include stipulations that are applicable to application ZA 2108, but are included for informational purposes with respect to this application. References to the residential/commercial portion shall refer to the development of this property, while reference to the residential/commercial portion shall refer to development of the property that is the subject of ZA 2111. So if that makes sense, just,
Can you repeat that for me, please?
yeah. If you repeat your conditions, just some identification, the fact that this is intended to be a common project and that we are recognizing that the residential commercial should apply as it's intended to apply. As opposed to being some confusion as to whether we're applying a commercial condition to a residential property. So I think some kind of prefatory statement, it doesn't have to be just like that, but I think some prefatory statement that just recognizes that commonality would be good.
And then,
Other questions of that?
so in theory, they're two separate ones, but your residential is held hostage per se to the commercial development. So there will be some form of agreement between those two entities, I would assume.
That's correct. There's actually one landowner that owns it all, but he is selling the residential portion off. And so he is selling it to my client, which I was initially, as I mentioned, initially only representing a residential rezoning. And then it became apparent that we needed to do them both together. So I'm now representing both of them, but yes,
And
they will
that's
be.
all
And they
disclosed.
understand that it's got to be developed together, and that's taken many, many, many conversations, but we've gotten through that. So
So you're pushing back on our amenities package. I think an amenity that we've discussed and looked at, and I think you have in here, is the sidewalk that is becoming an amenity in and of itself in communities. However, I noticed you indicate you're going down and avoiding the creek crossing.
that's because there's a box culvert down there that has to be extended, which is it's a 6x9 box culvert. It goes under Dawson Forest Road.
So you're avoiding the amenities package, and we're trying to skip that particular piece. Would the developer be willing to put in? If don't get hung up on the amenities package, if we consider the sidewalk amenities, taking care of that particular piece as well. You can confer with your client. Or we can start the hearing.
Yes, sir.
He said you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other questions of the applicant? Thank you. We may have some more later. All right, so at this time, I'm going to open the hearing on both of these applications at the same time, which is ZA 2108 and ZA 2111 as presented. All right. Is anyone here to speak in favor of the applications? Speak in favor of the applications. Anyone here to speak in opposition to the applications? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the applications? Hearing none, I will close that hearing. So we're going to take both of these at the same time. So what is the pleasure of the board?
Let me suggest this. I think we should make two separate motions
Okay,
on this, because if we are going to do some kind of prefatory language, I think that would be helpful to do it and approve each one according to their zoning applications. That
okay.
makes
We'll
sense.
start out with ZA 2108. Go ahead.
Ask Attorney something.
You can.
So so can we make the statement that if the stipulations refer to the residential, those will apply? If it refers to the commercial, those will apply?
Yeah, and that was what I was speaking about with the
Instead of reading all that.
with the prefatory, and it sounded confusing the way I said it because not knowing which application you're in, but I think that's what's important. So for the 08, which is the residential piece, then we need to reference as a common project with ZA 2111. And that the stipulations referring to residential apply to that application, which is 08, and commercial applies to the 2111, something to that effect.
Okay.
And definitely met reference to the common project aspects with each of the other.
And I think planning and zoning had some additional recommendation stipulations. Was that all agreed upon or what?
Yes, so they recommended a modification of these certain
I don't
conditions.
know if y'all got.
Number 7, 10, 18, and 19. So when you make your motion, if you have modifications of any of the conditions, which I would suggest we need to modify condition number 6 to be clear that $125,000 will be applied to both ZA 2108 and 2111 for a total contribution of $250,000. And then if you wish to take the staff recommendations for those modifications, then I think we need to state that as to those particular numbers.
I know what those are.
Now,
We've seen those.
number 3, the modification is basically what they're saying in number 18, correct?
Yeah, C modifications below.
Yeah.
But is it, the notes on here are modifying what they said, correct? Have that been, did y'all go through those? Jim?
Modifications. Did y'all see those?
Did y'all meet on those?
They
Talk
weren't
about this?
dead. I wondered why we didn't.
Jameson told me we did, okay. Okay, then yes.
Oh.
Yeah. that-
So have those been written into this side?
I think you need to indicate that you're approving the conditions presented by the applicant with modifications by staff as to conditions number 7, 10, 18, and 19, and then our separate modification, condition number 6 on the contribution. Unless there's anything else, but
But like, just for instance, you're not agreeing to like the staff recommendations was minimum amenities. And we're kind of,
That's correct. Yeah, that's one.
We're gonna do the site- we're gonna do the site.
we're gonna do the side.
At this point in the stage, can we, maybe I request to table it for the next hearing to get the stipulations written more appropriately. And then the council-
That would help me.
If council requests, we could even go as far as separating out the conditions based on the commercial and residential portions a little
mhm.
That
more.
needs to be done.
Thorough.
Let me- for my, while we got the applicant here, I mean, the number one, and I don't know what y'all discussed. Number one, the interparcel connectivity between the Walmart and the other commercial piece. Was that okay or not okay?
Yes.
Okay. And then number two curb cuts along 53, 3 curb cuts along Dawson Forest. That's already there, I think, y'all.
Yeah, I agree to that.
And just to clarify, that's 2 for the entire project, not 2 per, not,
Two curb cuts along 53 and 3 along Dawson
Yeah,
Forest.
and that's on their plan. I think.
That's on there.
Let's see.
It is, yes,
The dumpsters screened, I'm sure that's
right. Yeah, we mentioned that.
all stormwater infrastructure within development shall be interconnected and shared, utilized detention. Okay. Developer shall maintain planted buffer around grave sites located in the far east
Yes.
portion. Minimum amenities, flip flop that for the, I know not there.
Yeah, I think the amenities was the only one that we still
Okay.
disagreed with.
I just want to read them in the, the RMF portion of this development shall provide signage prohibiting parking in the streets. I
Yes.
think You mentioned that. Project shall be subject to the additional ordinances, regulations, Dawson County when requirements are noted due to the civil review said development.
Yes,
Okay. And all roads shall be paved up to standards as prescribed by the Public Works Department of Dawson County with curb and gutter and shall tie into the master water, wastewater, or master stormwater system.
yes,
Okay, so the only one that staff's recommendations, the only one that we're massaging is the amenities, swapping out for the amenity being the 8-foot
All the rest of them are
sidewalk
on.
along the hallway.
correct. That's correct.
The rest of them are on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
18, 19 basically is 18.
Yep.
On the other side.
Yeah, yeah, I got that for it.
The cemetery.
Yes, ma'am.
Does Bethel Church have anything, do they have ownership of that cemetery? Do you know?
I think there's an easement over it. That's what it is, but there's federal like regulations that
That's
protect
what,
cemeteries
okay,
that everybody has to adhere to. So we have to do that. And in addition, Jameson added a condition that we have to plant a buffer around it, which we're willing to do
how many graves are there? Do you
and
know?
provide access to it.
Do you know how many graves are there?
I don't. Who was it? There was somebody I ran into here at the courthouse that actually had a family member from the Revolutionary War
Yeah,
that was buried there. It's,
Yeah.
I think back in, I don't know, one of the other public
but
hearings.
just as long as it's protected,
Yes, we
you
have
know,
to, right. And in addition, we're also going to put a fence around it. So that'll.
oh, a fence. Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it just said
Yeah,
a
there's-
natural buffer.
Isn't there a
Oh.
fence in this? I thought there was.
A security fence.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. And then who's in charge of it then? Do you know? Do you know, James? Who's in charge of this? It's just always concerning. Somebody called me about that the other day.
Yeah.
Won't know if I was aware of it. And I said, yes, I'm aware of it.
Probably clean it up. It's kind of overgrown.
Yes, it is. I don't
Yeah.
even know if you can you even see it?
Yeah, you can.
You can?
Mhm.
Are they just, is it just stones or are there monuments?
There's some small monuments, yes. It's nothing big, but
Mhm. This is, well, I'm glad there's things to
Yeah.
protect it. That would be horrible.
Yeah.
Something happened to that.
no, I agree. And it is, like I said, federally protected.
Mhm.
So we're amenable to all the revisions.
Thank you. All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to ask one more, sorry. I wrote this down. I meant to ask, can we amend 16 where we talk about the front facades to just document that you guys will use earth tone to be determined by staff? I mean, earth tone paint colors and stuff. because,
Yeah.
Again, we don't want it to look like Key West.
Yes.
Okay. So we can amend 16 to include the final sentence being earth tones to be determined by staff, which I think is the goal, but just to solidify it. Thanks.
All right. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to
We're taking them one at a time. So start out with ZA.
ZA 21-08 with all the stipulations that were read in record with the modifications of the recommendation of the planning department. And I guess number 6, where developers shall contribute $125,000 each for each zoning for a total of $250,000.
That both of them are in conjunction.
There was more stuff.
And just to clarify, you mentioned the modified staff conditions, but are you also intending your motion to include the additional staff conditions, number 1 through 9?
Those are already been agreed to, correct?
Yes, they all been agreed to.
And they're not on the front,
No, they're on the back.
on the back.
And would your motion also include the modification to condition number 16 that Chris offered? Commissioner Gaines, I'm sorry.
Earth tone colors.
Yes, that was read in record. That's what I was saying. Everything was read on record with the stipulations and modifications.
Yeah.
Yes, it was agreed to and read on record.
Sidewalk. Yeah.
If I can ask a question, what was the creek crossing so you're saying that there's a modification to the staff modification?
Continuing that sidewalk for the length of the
You're
property.
gonna strike in number 7, you're gonna strike the last 5 words down to the creek crossing. So essentially it's gonna say developer shall 5-foot sidewalks on one side of the street throughout the entire development and the 8-foot sidewalk along Dawson Forest Road across the entire.
Period. So does that mean you're not accepting?
Well, actually, in modification 7, it says Highway 53 and Dawson Forest.
So which one applies?
Modification 7 is what they said.
Okay, so then so
It's
are
on the
you
road,
suggesting that you're,
So it'll be, actually, the modification 7 takes care of that. It does not cut out modification 7 doesn't cut out the creek. crossing.
Correct.
So I'm okay
yeah,
with
so
that.
my expectation would be if you're adopting the modification stipulations to 7, 10, 18, and 19, then it would replace those conditions as proffered by the developer. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
8-foot sidewalk down Dawson Forest Road and 5-foot down there. Yeah, it says that, which is what they've agreed to. All right.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion with all those read out loud
Hmm.
stipulations
And then modifications.
and modifications. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion.
If I could just offer one other clarification. So we're adopting the stipulations proffered by the developer with the modification of stipulation 6 and stipulation 16. And then adopting the modifications from staff for conditions 7, 10, 18, 19, and adopting the additional conditions from staff numbered 1 through 9. And now number 6 was the amenities condition. So are we amending that?
Excluding 6.
Excluding 6 altogether.
Yeah,
Okay.
we read that in reference to the residential part of it, because since we're on the residential one.
Any further discussion? Have a motion and a second. Hearing none, please vote. On ZA 21-08. And that is approved 3-1. Now, ZA 21-11. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve ZA 21-11. The commercial phase of it for including all staff recommendation modifications and stipulations as read on record.
I confer to
Sorry?
I confer to the commercial piece.
The confer, yeah.
Okay.
With the commercial piece. With the developer shall contribute $125,000 each towards the construction of the intersection improvement for a total of $250,000 at 53 and Dawson Forest Road East.
Have a motion by Commissioner Satterfield. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote.
Can I just make one clarification? I'm sorry, and I may have not heard it correctly. You're adopting the proffered conditions with the modifications from staff as to 7, 10, 18, and 19, and also the additional stipulations from staff,
1
number
through
1
9.
through 9.
Yes, ma'am.
As they apply to the commercial piece.
Got it.
All right. Somebody hadn't voted. And ZA 2111 is approved 4-0. All right, now move on to ZA 2112. Martin Labaka. Request to rezone tax map parcel 076-126 from RSR residential sub-rural to RA residential agriculture for the purpose of down zoning the parcel. Jameson.
Apologies, Chairman. Thank you. ZA 21-12. All right. The applicant is requesting to downzone this particular property from RSR to RA for the purpose of constructing an accessory structure without a primary structure. The applicant purchased this property. And then when the soil level analysis came back, was performed, it would come back and it was not suitable for a septic system. He is seeking to downzone the parcel to allow him to construct this accessory structure without the primary structure. So according to the zoning application, the zoning of residential sub-rural, you have to have a primary structure in order to build an accessory structure. In his application, it says the structure is to store his boat and jet skis and tools. This was heard before the planning commission and they recommended denial of this request 4-0. The denial is based around the discussion that this was subdivided as a neighborhood, and this rezoning of a single lot of the neighborhood is not something that they can support. I will entertain any questions at this time.
Where's this located?
It is located off
Kelly
of
Bridge Road.
Kelly Bridge.
Kelly Bridge
It
Road.
was in a subdivision.
And all these are 1.25 acre lots, every one of them. Our thing is 1.25. Now, being at 1.25, trying to downzone to RA wouldn't meet the acreage requirement for 5 acres. Correct?
So the acreage requirement for in RA is to subdivide the piece of property. We don't allow subdivisions for less than 5 acres. We have numerous properties across the county, as you know, that are residential agriculture. And we have rezoned properties from that were less than 5 acres to RA for particular purposes.
For homes.
For homes.
For homes, yes.
Other questions for Jameson? Thanks, sir. We may have some more later. Is the applicant present? Come on up, sir. Tell us what you would like to do.
Name is Martin Lavaca. And I bought a property June last year. And I tried to actually get a permit for septic, did a soil test, surveys, everything. Environmental department said, no, it's not possible. The water tables are too shallow, so no septic allowed. And they already got the property, so at least I want to use them to actually store my vehicles, some tools, my personal stuff. Because I don't know what else to do with actually that acre and a quarter, at least to use it as storage for myself, not commercial, no nothing, just for my stuff. And, you know, some of my, like, for example, my motorcycles, I would like to have it inside the garage, inside the structure, protected from the weather, etc. Basically that.
Questions of the applicant?
Do you live there? In that
No,
sub-
sir.
in that subdivision?
No. Actually, the subdivision is a really old subdivision. It's a gravel kind of cul-de-sac. It's not a fancy 2020 subdivision. It's a regular subdivision. All of my neighbors around, they have storage containers, cars, car parts, bobcats. It's something normal. It's not something like very cheap, you know. I'm trying to make probably buy, those metal buildings, put them there, up to code, something approved, and clear that land, and hopefully in the future that I can dry that land out and build my house there. But in the meantime, I'm trying to at least give some users. I'm actually paying storage from different places to store 2 bikes that I have, a boat.
One of the things that they brought up, it looks like in the planning commission, was they made a recommendation that you bring letters from the neighbors, that they were okay with that. Did you do that?
No, sir. I spoke to 2 of my neighbors verbally, and actually they have no problem. And they also, I offered them if they want to get my land to sell them for the same money that I bought it. And one doesn't have the money, and the other one wants to pay me like a quarter of what I paid for it. So I rather keep it. And actually, I thought that was something that the county sent the letters. No, when
Mhm.
Receive anything back?
and if you want to look at some pictures, I have some pictures actually of the homes surrounding my land. It's the last lot empty there.
Other
It's
questions?
vacant. You said it's vacant now. It
It's
is.
been forever since the since the subdivision was developed, was the only lot that was never actually anything was built there.
So there's houses all around.
Mhm.
Pardon me?
Houses, just
Yeah,
houses
it's
all
houses,
around.
yes.
Mhm.
Other questions of the app?
I guess legally it has to be, you have a real estate license, don't you? I mean, it doesn't have to be disclosed. It won't hurt. Yes.
Do you have to disclose anything that you sell that is, would be classified as a negative? If you
Well,
know,
that would've been-
but if they didn't know that, now, he being the owner now does know that, so he would have to disclose that. The prior owner did, if they did not know that. would not have to.
That's because all my neighbors already knew that. That's because they don't want to pay me anything for the land or
Mhm.
whatever. So that's why I'm trying to find
Obviously, all
out.
of theirs perked, and they all have a
Yes.
house.
Pardon me?
Obviously, all of their land perked because they all have a house on 1.25 acres.
1.25, yes, sir.
That's
That-
fine.
that,
Now, yours
uh,
is next to a creek.
Yes, sir.
And
But the
that's
creek is on my
probably
neighbors.
some of the reason that,
Pardon?
is that some of the reason that maybe not have met the environmental?
Well, basically, they took samples of everywhere from 50 feet away from the creek, and none of that land was proper for. It didn't
They're all
work.
broke out somewhere. This way it's laid out. All right, other questions of the app?
Why did planning, what was the denial for? What was planning commission? What was the denial based on?
It was just a concern about rezoning one particular property inside of a neighborhood. That was the discussion around it. There was no, within their motion of denial, they didn't actually give a specific reason, but that was the discussion before the vote for denial.
Any other questions of the app? Thank you, sir. All right, I'll open this hearing. Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Here done, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
May I just ask a question for clarification? Jameson, is this property, did you say it's within a platted subdivision?
It is, yes, ma'am.
So if the board's inclined to rezone that, I mean, I think it's be unusual to have a parcel within a platted subdivision zoned differently. I mean, is there not a
I don't
subdivision
believe
plat
the-
that
I
would
don't believe
preclude
there
it?
is- there was never a subdivision, an official subdivision plat, because it was platted before we had any type of subdivision regulations.
Okay,
This property wasn't rezoned for the particular purpose of creating a subdivision. It was just subdivided off a larger piece of property.
gotcha. So not a subdivision plat in your typical sense of a single project.
No.
Okay, so the only thing I would offer is to the extent you're inclined to do it, residential agricultural, I think has quite a lot of uses. You may want to condition it to only what he's suggesting he wants to do, because if I'm not mistaken, residential agriculture would allow for farming operations, like wouldn't allow some livestock and things that might be offensive to neighbors in this subdivision. So you may want to condition just to the use that he has indicated he wants, with the other RA uses not being available, given its location.
And we do have other regulations within residential agriculture, like if you wanted to build let's just say a chicken house, for instance. Any type of agricultural use has to meet certain requirements. He couldn't build a chicken house on this piece of
No.
property because he'd have to be over 150 feet from any property line. Well, this property is not big enough and the size isn't conducive for that. Same with like horses and large animals that has to be pasteurized, and something that's more than an acre and a half for other regulations. So to your point, I do think it would, if the board is inclined to approve this application, we would approve it for just the specific use that he's looking to do.
And which is a metal building. Is that what he's wanting? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Just approve it for the metal building?
If you're so inclined,
Mhm.
So it's-
which you may not be inclined. It'll be up to you.
Well, I love down zoning.
All right. So do I have a motion?
Make a motion to deny the zoning ZA 2112.
A motion to deny by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And it is denied 3-1. All right, we'll move on to further business, new business. Next, we have consideration to move forward with a public hearing for a timber harvest ordinance update. Presented with that update a couple of weeks ago. Today, you would be voting to move to a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0 to go to a public hearing. Next up, we have ratification of emergency purchase for installation of a new commercial hot water heater at Fire Station Number 1 from KE Green Mechanical Hydronics for $11,937.78. You received that via email where the station was without hot water, which turned it into an emergency acquisition. So you're here today to ratify that particular installation and purchase. Is there a motion?
Chairman, make a motion to approve the ratification of emergency purchase.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that ratification is approved 4-0. We do have public comment. Miss, is it Candy Hewitt? That would be you. Come on up.
This is my first time ever doing this, so bear with me.
And I will tell you have a 5-minute limit, 5 minutes.
Yes, I
Okay.
understand. There's concerns in apartment complex where I live. There's other applicants I'm speaking for that are scared to speak for themselves. That are on the voucher program, the rural development program. The landlord is going up on the rent, no inspection. It's unhealthy, it's unsafe. I don't know, but I just, something's got to be done. You know, is there any kind of stipulations that can be put on landlords on, you know, and how much they can raise your rent? People are going to be put out on the street. You know, there's a lady in a wheelchair. Elder lady, another elder lady who's 74, who has dementia. The place is just gets trashed. You know, I'm speaking up for a healthy, safe community, you know. Something a lot of us want, that people are afraid to come and speak up for. You know, I don't know really how to present this because I've never done this before.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
I'm definitely not a lawyer, but I know there are laws that landlords have to adapt to, but those are state regulated, not county regulated, if I'm correct. Is that right, counsel?
Yes, sir. I mean, the county doesn't have any purview or authority over tenant landlord relations in that sense. If there's violations of the property maintenance requirements or solid waste in the county, if there's septic, you know, violations, now those things, either the health department or our code enforcement can handle. Like if there's infestations of bugs or sewage spillage or
Leaks.
you know, sewage leaks, things like that, then
Well,
yes,
what about roof leaks?
that's likely not. That's going to be a landlord tenant contractual type thing. It's a private matter as opposed to what the
mean,
government
just
can do. So we
how
can
people are
enforce.
living in unhealthy and safe.
Well, if it's unhealthy
environments.
and unsafe in terms of in violation of our ordinances, then we can enforce it. But we can't enforce, you know, state law or any landlord tenant law. So it may be that some of the ordinances are being violated. A roof leak wouldn't necessarily
No,
be an
not even
ordinance.
broken pavements, broken steps, anything.
Probably not. I mean, well, I mean, we do have a property maintenance ordinance that has some provision. So maybe if we got a copy of that to you from, you know, we could provide you with. Well, I don't think it does cover that. I mean, I think we dealt with like potholes and stuff, if I'm not mistaken, in that ordinance, but you could take a look at those ordinance. I think we could have staff direct you to ordinances that might apply and see what you see there. And then we do have a marshal's office that enforces those types of things within our ordinance. But I'm afraid much of what you're talking about is a private landlord tenant type situation.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I'll speak to county man.
Yeah.
Can you get with the fire department, planning development, the marshal's office, possibly a representative from the sheriff department, form a task force, go over there and see, and just investigate what kind of conditions it might be under some of their jurisdiction or laws or ordinances or codes or, I mean, I know fire department can't go in a residential home, but they can, apartments or something, they can inspect the outsides.
There were some conditions over there. I've spoken with him before.
Okay.
And I have spoken with the sheriff on certain conditions over there that were sensitive situations that I believe the sheriff was handling that portion of it.
Okay.
I've also spoke to family services to take a look at what's going on. There's something that could be. Since we spoke, there had been some improvements made there, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, the air conditioning and that kind of thing.
Just
But
the air
yes, as
conditioner.
far as the fire department,
Just the air conditioner. Other than
Pardon?
that, just the air conditioner. Other than that, there's nothing else.
Was a leak
the
fixed?
leak and
That went into the ceiling fan? It wasn't.
No, it's basically was just covered up. I have pictures.
But yes, I will follow up with the fire marshal and
I mean, we're
We don't
we're
have
under the
power.
HUD
I don't
program
know.
and, you know, there's no inspections being done.
No. Thank you.
But the county manager's gonna look into that as far as
David,
getting
you
all
say-
those parties involved.
Did you talk to Adult Protective Services? Okay. So we'll take, I mean, like I said, like we've heard them say, we'll take a look at all that we can take a look at. We don't have a whole lot of ability, unfortunately, in some of these things. They're outside our jurisdiction. From state law, other avenues might be the best way for the residents to handle that.
Put out in the process.
Legal aid, were you successful with that?
I have an appointment next week.
Okay.
Up on that.
Maybe they can prevent you from being thrown out.
Only 2 months away.
Do what?
Only 2 months away.
Well, I know what you
They
have to
done-
tell
they
them,
done
get
went
on
up
it.
Once, they don't went up once and they, they're going up again, so.
Yeah.
It's just. You can't
We
afford.
shouldn't have stuff like this in the county, really. Shouldn't be this bad of conditions
Right.
in the
that-
county.
That's how I feel.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm missing revival at church because I want
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
to.
All right.
Could be there instead of here, right?
Anything else?
That's all that I have right now.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Do you have anyone else that signed up? With that, we are adjourned. Nope.